No
I'm so
worries.
excited. I finally get to meet you in person, sort of. We met through the Vegan Business Tribe, and that was eons ago, it seems like. And we've been trying to catch up ever since then. And we finally are doing this video today, you know,
Yes,
traveling.
fantastic.
Yeah. So,
Fantastic to meet you finally, because you've always been an inspiration, and great to meet you, Jason. And thank you for inviting me here for Christmas in July. I don't know if you see my picture behind me. This is taken today here in the heat wave of London. I was walking down the street through Mayfair in central London, thinking about, oh, I'm going to meet you finally, and hopefully inspire and get to know people. And there was a Christmas tree sitting on the corner where I had to turn into my street. I couldn't believe it. I thought, what a great omen. I picked it up and took a quick photo. So that's literally taken here in heat wave London. So Christmas in July has happened here as well. And yes, I'm really pleased to be here. Don't know if you want me to introduce a little bit about me and my vegan travel journey.
Great. We'd love to know a bit more about you, Todd, and introduce yourself to our community.
Great. Well, hi everybody. I'm London Todd on most of the socials. Rebel Vegan is kind of my brand, and my travel guide. I have a long history of travel. I grew up in a place called Prince Edward Island in Eastern Canada, so I knew I had to work hard to get out into the world and to see the world, and I was always curious. So I studied history, and off I went. And I moved to London many years ago, and I've lived in Australia, and I've lived in Guatemala, and basically worked for all these travel companies. So I grew up on a farm, and that's the most amazing thing I think there. Part of my journey is I grew up in the other end of the kind of spectrum here. I grew up on a big working dairy farm, and everything was very normalized to me. And it wasn't until I was really writing my books and really after I became a vegan that it all kind of came back, and I remembered the sounds and the noises and recognized it for what it was. But so I grew up in this very isolated kind of farming background, and I went out into the world just always wanting to travel. So I built a life around it, and I've worked for various travel companies, some big ones like Toucan Travel, G Adventures, used to be called GAP or GAP.
right. They're a great company.
Yeah, it is a great company. We've talked about that, how they've got a new animal policy where they no longer support or promote or have any animal tourism on any of their itineraries around the world. So that was a breakthrough a few years ago. And I think you were part of that, Donna, and kind of, chasing that up and fighting for that.
I'm annoying that way.
Yeah, I'm really, really pleased you got there. So yes, I worked for these big companies, and again, my head was in the sand. I supported and I curated all these amazing culinary destinations, but it was never vegan. I always shied away from it. And then I got ill, very ill, about 6.5 years ago with extreme food poisoning, and I had to come off the road for the first time ever. I'm never sick. I've got a pretty strong constitution, and there I was, deathly sick. I just never been that sick. And I was in northern Vietnam, and I knew a friend of mine who used to do tours with me and the countryside, and we visited a monastery. He took me out to this monastery that I knew all the monks, and they literally nurtured me back on a fully vegan, plant-based diet, and told me a bit of the spiritual side of how important it was not to have this, dead animals in you, and not to be consuming fear and death. And it really stuck, and it was life-changing for me. And I had about a week and a half rest and recovery with these amazing monks who changed my life. And I went back out on the road, a changed person. And again, to me, my default, I was living out of a suitcase. So it wasn't like I was in my little, my cozy, safe environment where I could go down to my local grocery store and go down the plant-based aisle or the vegetarian aisle and find all these things. I was literally back out there in the streets of Vietnam, and I think I flew to Laos the next day or a couple of days later, and I had to find and source vegan food. Wow. And I guess I was shocked. At first I was really scared, but would I be able to do this? But not only did I do it, but it was really life affirming, because I felt like I was doing it. I was connecting to people on a deeper level. They were curious. We talked about my beliefs and my ethics. I connected. and built stronger relationships around this. And of course, I changed and found incredible restaurants who let me go in and veganize places. I remember walking down the street once and this guy came running out, so excited to see me, hadn't seen me in months. Come on in, here's your favorite dish. And of course, it was my favorite dish pre-vegan. And I had to quickly explain, no, sorry, I've had this life-changing moment and realization. And they quickly veganized that dish for me and put it on the menu.
That's
And
awesome
I remember
when
them
that
doing
happens.
that and me
yeah.
going, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
And I kept traveling and really doing this deep dive. So I came to veganism for my health, but obviously then all my background came flooding back. And I remembered those sounds and noises of growing up on a farm, and that kind of normalized, that quite violent system that I was a part of, that and I questioned it all, and I started reading and researching, and it really became one of my passions. So travel and veganism together are really what really inspires me, and I think they're both very similar. To me, they're connected, and I think people sometimes are surprised with that. But if you think veganism and travel both pushes you outside your element, outside your comfort zone, makes you rethink the world, and makes you, value. They have similar values around community and sustainability, values around compassion and justice. So to me, veganism and travel go hand in hand. And I feel quite passionately that veganism is the future of travel. I think we have to change travel. And I think COVID really advanced that. Mm-hmm. And then we see the world through a different lens now. And we have to travel differently. We have to connect differently. And I think vegan values are the way forward. So I feel very passionately about that. And that's when I came off the road with COVID during the lockdowns, and I wrote my Rebel Vegan Travel Guide. That was really the ethos and the driving force of writing that book, and inspired me on my travels around the world as well, meeting amazing people. So anyway, I've likely said enough. I'm dying to have a conversation with both Jason and Donna, because you both inspire me as well.
That's great. I'd love to actually, before we dive into talking about, Christmas gifts and Christmas ideas for vegans, was talking more about, I know you have 3 books. So did you write the travel guide first? Did you write more history? What is the order of those books? Because I've only started one of, I've only started one of the books, and I'd love to know how you spun them together.
Well, thanks, Jason. Well, I wouldn't recommend this to anybody, first of all. Of course, I was isolated. I came back. I was in a tour when COVID really hit. I was in Myanmar. That was before things obviously have gone pear-shaped with the military takeover of Burma or Myanmar. And I had to get out of the country, and I had to fly back to the UK. And I was quite confused, to be honest, as I think we all were. Like, how long is this? What's happening? And what does this mean? And like I say, my whole life, I lived out of a suitcase, and I traveled. I was in a different country most weeks, every different week. And all of a sudden here I was back in London, March, cold, with my suitcase. I had my little travel shorts on. I had to find a place to live, and a friend lent me a flat, and I was, all of a sudden, my life just stopped. And I had to kind of, it was quite a sobering and shocking moment. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? I'm locked away, I'm on my own. And again, my travels, I started writing, I remember on the Mekong River, I used to have 2 days in the Mekong River. I started writing a travel guide. I don't know, only about a year before COVID hit, and just little bits, little ideas. And I took that out. So my travel guide, my vegan travel guide, I didn't have a name for it yet, was really the first, that was the, the seed of it all. And I very much took that on and started doing research. And I had all the places that I knew were my vegan top city breaks and my vegan top countries, and even like staycations were coming out. I said, I want to explore that more. And the idea of, how a staycation is so environmentally, it's environmentally friendly. It's very vegan in its own way. So I started doing all this research, writing the travel guide. But when I started writing the travel guide, I went, I think I think it needs something else as a foundation, or almost a twin or a companion. It needs kind of the why veganism matters. Because I think during COVID, we see the world through a different lens now. And I really think veganism, to me, is such an important, it's more urgent than it's ever been. COVID highlighted the health aspect and even the social aspect of the meat industry, and those horrible stories coming out from meat packing plants and slaughterhouses. And I thought environmentally, we're opening up to the environment and how important it is again. All those things to me are vegan values. So I kind of put the half-finished draft of the travel guide on the side and started phoning, like literally, and interviewing vegan nutritionists and doing research and reading the latest papers, and wrote my first book, which is Why Veganism Matters: A Radical Take on Veganism for a Brave New World. And that was kind of the first book that I published, which came out on World Vegan Day last year, November 1st. So that, even though I started with my travel guide, that was my passion. I felt it needed more. So I stepped back and did this Why Veganism Matters, which I think is a really important part. And I needed more of that as a foundation. And then after the travel guide, I wrote a nutrition guide with a nutritionist I wrote. So it became 3 books. And like I say, I wouldn't recommend it to any new author or publisher, but I couldn't stop myself, and lockdowns kept being extended. So I had all the time.
Well, do you know what? I was telling you before we started recording that I'm still in your first book, The Radical Take. And I just loved the fact that it was very much exactly like you said. Here's why you become a vegan. Here are points to consider. And it was literally reaffirming every single reason as a vegan why I'm living this lifestyle now. And I was able to go in and highlight those little sections for the points when I'm talking to people who are non-vegan, and I keep forgetting the stat of, any one of the stats that you shared in your book. I was like, no, this is perfect. This is like something you should be carrying just to go, hey, give me a second. I have something to show you that might change your mind. Read this little section of the book, because you might not know this is what's going on. And I thought it was great. But hearing you talk about the travel guide, I was like, it makes perfect sense that you would start in the travel guide sphere. But I think this Radical Take was the perfect first book.
Yes.
I must get that one. I have the travel guide. Yeah, I have the travel guide.
That was important for me as well, to do that first book, because I thought I wanted to learn, more as well. And I studied the first chapter of that first book, A Radical Take on Veganism, is a historical perspective of veganism, of animal rights, of plant-based diets, going back to biblical, the Greeks, you name it. And I thought that hadn't really been done or done, thoroughly. And I really wanted to do justice to that. And then I do, like you say, I have a chapter on comebacks for skeptics and things that, things that are often thrown at us as vegans. And we're frustrated in the moment. I know I am. I might be at a dinner party and someone starts, spouting off or challenging me. And I just wanted to concisely bring it together, all those kind of silly little myths or things, and just get rid of them once and for all, and hopefully empower me and empower others and anybody who picks it up. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. It saved me getting through COVID. That was what got me through. So veganism, again, being part of this community and doing that deep dive really saved me and gave me a focus and gave me something to work on and to feel passionate about.
That's great. Well, the vegan, sorry, Donna, before we go to that, I just wanted to also add the vegan icing on the cake about that book is that anything that you have mentioned as a stat or a quote has a footnote to it. So you were able to find out the resource. And I think that's been another challenge I've personally had when I'm having discussions with non-vegans, is they want tangible resources. And this book was like, nope, here you can go through. I got the electronic version so I could flip through it on my device, but you were able to go right to the source and find the information and confirm and validate what you're reading. So that was
important to me, that it was all backed up with, and this was all stuff from the World Health Organization, from Oxford, from the biggest think tanks. This is peer-reviewed studies. This was not some whack scientist. Like I know the meat industry funds a lot of confusing, purposely confusing studies that they can throw out there to kind of, keep everybody in a state of confusion. I wanted everything there. I wanted backed up. Anything I said that was an important scientific
That's important. Yes.
It's so important because, we have to really be ready to be challenged, and we are in this world. So I'm pleased that you liked it. Thank you.
Oh, totally. It's definitely on the gift giving list for anybody who's considering vegan.
Well,
in
that's
my
what I was
life.
going to talk about. Yeah.
for it, yeah.
So that's a great present. The trilogies, the 3 books for Christmas time, right? So we can get that on Amazon. Is that correct? And you can also
Yes.
get it on Kindle if you're not into getting paper
I've
books.
got the audio as well.
You do have the
Like I
audio.
said, I learned a lot of new tricks over the long lockdowns. And one of
Did you
them
just
was
say you have the audio book too?
I have the audiobooks on Audible. Yes.
Are
Well,
you-
I'm gonna have
are-
to look that up because
Are you reading
that's
them
my-
today?
actually, the travel ones come. I have the first 2 books. Well, I have the first and the last. I have the Radical Take narrated, and I have the nutrition guide and the travel guide I'm doing right now. So I'll have that out in a couple of weeks.
Okay,
Nice.
good. That'll be in
The
time for
Rebel
my
Vegan Travel
Scotland
Guide.
trip.
And I just wanted to I wanted it out so whoever people want to access this information, whether it's a Kindle book, audio book, I have paperback, hardback, it's just all there. And actually the travel guide, they're all my photos because of course I had this incredible life. I was so blessed to be able to travel and meet people around the world. So I went through my library and I picked out photos from South America and the Inca Trail and all through Asia, obviously, in Australia. And I just started compiling these and it was fun to bring it together. So I
That's
hope
awesome.
everybody enjoys it.
That's awesome.
I'm enjoying it so far. I've been reading it. I just taking my time and absorbing it. So
Well, you're coming
Yeah.
to London next week, so I'll sign your copy, Donna.
there you go. I'm gonna bring it with me.
I'll make you pack it.
I took it to Croatia, but we were so busy. I
It
had
sounds like it.
just like a time to read a couple pages here and there. So, but I'm gonna deep dive in it because we're gonna be on the bus a lot in Scotland. So I'll have
Yes,
some time
yeah.
to read. So you have I wanted to, and maybe Jason could ask this as well because I'm stuttering here, but do you have some ideas on some Christmas time, because Christmas time is a busy time for travel. So do you have any travel gift suggestions for people?
Yeah, if they're going out there and if people are traveling, yeah, like if people are going on a trip, a gift idea.
Right. Whether it's
Um,
luggage, my whole thing, I will tell you, this is my whole thing that
Yeah.
I have had issues with since the beginning of time is actual vegan luggage that doesn't have any leather on it. It used to be, they always had to have a piece of leather on it.
That's right,
I don't
yeah.
know. I'm just coming up with ideas, like if you have any suggestions for.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's interesting with luggage, isn't it? Because often there will be, it might be all made of something, and then there'll be like a little leather, or if there's that little bit where they have the address, something.
Right.
And you know what I found? Offspray, I don't know if you know them, not that I necessarily want to product endorse things. Offspray is a great company, and well, their bags now, I believe, are all vegan, or at least the ones I bought. And they're a great company. I believe they're in North America as well. Offspray, and I don't know of any others. I guess I've always used Offspray because they are vegan. And they're fantastic. I mean, as far as gifts, when I travel very lightly, but something like what you just mentioned, Jason, as well. I always get a Kindle or load my Kindle up. So to get electronic books or audio books, things that are easy to carry, easy to pack. I always get little containers as well, because as a vegan, I think one of the travel vegan tips is to always, whether you're getting on a plane and they might not have the right food, or you're traveling on a long bus journey, to store. I always take little bits with me. I have these little tiny Tupperware things. I have little Ziploc bags, my little Tupperware things that fit together. When someone gave me that, I was over the moon, because I literally have a little bit of muesli. I have some nuts. I have all my things. So if we go somewhere that there just isn't any options for me, and I'll always have a banana or apple in there, but I can pack together all these little trail mixes, things like that, dates, things that will give you really good, nutrition and keep you going if you are traveling long distances. So things like that, I like things that are easy to pack.
You could totally also, one of the notes that I had written here was the vegan snack box. I know when I first became vegan, there was a lot of companies that offered little travel sizes of things that you could take with you. I liked it because I could get 3 or 6 months to be able to try new things. But like you said, You can pop them in your bag, whether you're going on a hike, you're going on a staycation weekend away, or you're traveling internationally. Chances are you're going to end up somewhere where you don't have an option. So I think every vegan is like, make sure we've got snacks in our bag ready to go.
Yes,
So for
yeah.
me, whenever anybody gives that as a gift, I'm like, this is awesome. I didn't have to get it. I can use it. I can eat it. I may or may not like it, but you know, generally
I love those things as well, and I've got them as well. And it's the thing. Everywhere I go, and like I say, working, leading tours around the world, often in hotels, even in Asia, they're very egg based. I find, you know, the breakfast may be included, which is lovely, but often as a vegan, you end up, you know, having toast without even butter sometimes because there's no vegan alternatives. And I would carry with me, there's a little place in my Osprey bag where I have a Tupperware, and I get really nice muesli, and I'll buy a little soy milk in the corner shop or a long life almond milk. And I have a little bowl, a little spoon at the front of my bag, and I always in my own room, in the peace and quiet of my room, and start my day very zen. And I will mix myself, and sometimes if there's local blueberries or anything, any berry you can chuck in, or some crushed seeds, and I will start with this beautiful, healthy, there's no better way to start your day. I always have that with me, always have that on the side of my bag. It's like a thin Tupperware, fits right in there beside where I fold the clothes. I have the bowl and the little spoon in another section, and I'm ready to go. And I can start my day. And after that, you know, nothing can defeat me.
So if you're on a tour with Todd, make sure you know to go to his bedroom. That's where
absolutely. Oh, I fed many people. No, it's so true. People know me for that now. That's the danger.
My only warning to everybody is if you're traveling internationally, make sure your snacks are not liquid,
Right.
because you still have restrictions going over borders. It was like you explained, soy milk, pick it up locally. See what
I pick that all locally. Yeah.
And don't get the powdered soy milk.
Oh, that's horrible. Yes. Yeah. And sometimes I found you get the soy milk and they add sugar in it automatic. And all of a sudden my bowl of muesli that I thought was so healthy, it tastes like a dessert. But anyway, these little mistakes happen. And I often say, especially, you know, you're traveling and you're doing your best, you know, to take your ethics as a vegan. There's going to be bumps in the road. And not to beat yourself up. And I'm sure you guys have these experiences once in a while.
All the time.
Something happens and you realize, oh shoot, there was something in that, or there wasn't. Well, you're doing your best, you're making a huge difference, and you just have to, you know, pick up and keep going and be as prepared as you can be.
So how about some of these apps? I mean, a lot of the apps are free, right? But there are some apps
that's revolutionized travel, hasn't it, in the last 5 years?
Oh, with Happy Cow, yes.
Happy Cow, absolutely. Wow.
The amount of travel guides that are vegan, that are speaking to veganism, those have exploded in the last few years as well. I'm sure many were like you, Todd, where travelers were stuck at home and they're like, what do I do with all this information? And thank goodness for all of us, it's all available to us now. What was the one we gave away, a vegan travel guide from Lonely Planet last year? Like even bigger publications are realizing that veganism's huge. So picking up any one of those travel guides will really help any of the vegan travelers in your life.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think they're inspiring as well, because I think we all are, whether vegan or not, we're all a little anxious to go back out there into the, you know, brave new world. And you know, in my book, I wanted to put my kind of top spots just as a way, even if people are sitting at home, just to see the pictures and go, wow, okay, this is doable. This is something I can do. I can keep my, you know, ethics, and I can prepare and go out there back into the world after everything that's happened. So it's a way of almost getting people confident and motivated and focused. I think what I think a good travel guide should do, and just help people, you know, support people back out there.
And I love the fact, again, that it's something that's been written post-COVID, because I think that's another thing. I've been having a lot of conversations with clients who are relying on resources that were available pre-COVID. But the sad reality is the landscape has changed. There's a lot of new options showing up, but you want to make sure whatever app you're using, that you know when it was last updated, when a review was given, because things can really change. I've had some clients who thought vegan restaurants and spots that they really loved were still open, arrive, the place is boarded up. maybe not that they've closed, but that they've moved, or that they're doing
Yes.
different services. But it's so important to at least timestamp what you're reading, because it could have changed slightly.
So true, yeah. And I think that's the thing. I think COVID, it's changed the way we see the world in a totally new lens, and especially travel, and it's going to take a long time. And I'm sure you guys have, so much experience of this. I saw it shut down, and I'm, still connected with the travel world and all my colleagues. And it's, so much has changed, and it's been devastating. So many of the colleagues I had in Southeast Asia, places like Vietnam or Thailand, that was really geared around tourism. The devastation there, they lost their livelihood, and it's only slowly coming back. I would say that, we've learned so much, and we can travel better now. We can go off the beaten track. We can, I think travel is such a great way to connect, but also to really redistribute wealth if it's done well. If you're not going to big hotels that's, owned by some foreign, multinational company, and you're trying to do local experiences and keep your money locally, that's when you're leaving a positive footprint. And I think COVID really highlighted that we need to do that more. And I hope it's changed travel for the better. It's made us be more mindful and hopefully ethical. And that's where veganism, I think, comes in. And people,
Totally.
I've had a lot of people on my tours who aren't vegan, aren't vegetarian, but are anxious of eating meat, or going out there and don't know where the meat's coming from. So they will do plant-based, and that might also stick. And I found people go, wow, this is actually really good. The flavors, and they get swept away with it. So travel is just a way of challenging yourself, opening yourself up to new experiences. And plant-based travel is, I think, the way forward. I've seen it, it's changed my life. And talking about apps, my favorite app?
Yeah.
Vegan Passport. Have you guys heard of that?
Yes. Yes. They've been around for years. I used to have their
Years.
cards.
And I used to do that before I even knew of this app. I used to, for my passengers, my clients, and myself, in each language of each country, I would write, I am vegan, I cannot eat, and I would list, meat, cheeses, this, that, honey, boom, milk, dairy, and I would put it in like the Thai script, or I'd put it in the local language, and I would cut them out, and I would cut these little cards, and I'd put them in my wallet, and I'd hand them out to everybody in my group who wanted to be vegan. And they worked a dream. And then I realized there was a website and an app that did it for me, and I didn't need to do this. So that saved me that job, but it was kind of fun writing it out as well.
They actually have been doing this for at least 25 years or more.
Is it that long? I didn't know that.
They had cards, like the cards that you get as a kid.
Yeah.
And it was in a little plastic thing, and I would give them to my clients each, with their travels when they were going to Europe.
I wish I knew that, because like I say, for years I was doing it by, I have them in my book as well. I have little food cards in each country. I don't know.
We can't see it. Yeah, we can't see it.
Sorry, anyway, in the book, I included in each language of each country that I pick as my top destinations. I put a little food card showing how to say it and spell it in each different language or script. And I think that empowers people.
Yeah, we give it, and I know at our agency, we provide our clients a little PDF with similar sort of resources where it's like, you have something that you can show someone if they don't even speak English or can't understand English or whatever your language is, they can see it in their local script. But it's so important nowadays to make sure that you've got something to support yourself, because you can really be caught off guard if you're in a country where you don't speak the native language and you're sitting at a restaurant trying to explain to somebody. I think we've all been there at some point.
Oh yes, gosh.
Where you're like, I don't think they understood what I asked for, but we're going to see what we get. We're going to see.
Yeah, no, there's lots of funny stories there where, you're trying to describe it and they think, oh, they can't be serious. Or, they're from a very meat eating culture or background. And you'll pick at this meal and you go, what? That's got to be chicken, or I'm sure that's not vegan. So, but I think the world, hopefully slowly, I think by all of us going out there and engaging, connecting and being our authentic self, our authentic self, I think you're almost coming home as a vegan. You're being who you're supposed to be. You're connecting with people on a deeper level and you're changing lives and they're thinking themselves. So I think it's really transforming the world. And I think veganism is on the map.
Are there
100%.
any gadgets that you would recommend to people?
Gadgets.
I have one in mind, but I want to hear what
Okay.
you have to say.
I'm trying to think gadgets.
I've
I
got
mean,
one too.
I don't know if I have one. I'm trying to think. What are yours? And maybe you'll inspire me to think of one. What's
So
yours?
I got one because of all the luggage disasters that are having. It's an Apple AirTag. And I read it, I got it because I read this story about this guy who, I think he was from Ireland, and he was traveling somewhere in Europe, and his luggage got lost, and he was actually able to track exactly where it was. And it was actually, the luggage was delivered to the wrong address. So he had to call, he had to call the airlines to tell them, no, it's not at this address. You have to pick it up and take it to this address. So he was able to find his luggage. And I actually used it in my Croatia trip, and it'll actually say, hey, you're no longer near your luggage anymore. It's way back here. So it's just a tag. It has a little lithium battery to it, and it just keeps you
Wow.
updated. Yeah. So I
It's
just
huge
ordered a
right
second
now,
one.
and it's huge right now in Canada.
Yeah.
Without belaboring the point, we're having some challenges at our airports. There's lots of
Right.
issues with baggage. And we're actually seeing that a lot of passengers are including these little tags just to quickly be able to see, has it left the city? Has it left the country?
Right.
Where is the bag? You can then help the airline locate your bag quicker.
Right. Right.
And
Just
the
gives them
airlines
help.
right now are being asked, why are you not utilizing this technology more?
Right.
So they're trying to figure out how to maybe include that, or
Wow.
have their tags have something that can keep it where you can find it. So I'm sure
What a
more.
great idea. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that. No, I've never used it. I know I've seen the kind of technology with keys, when you lose your keys and you can have that little tracker. So it's, I guess, a
The
similar
same
thing.
thing.
What a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Mine-
about the keys.
Mine
There you
really
go.
wasn't a gadget, but something that I know that I have now. It's a zero waste travel kit that I've included in my travels. And we actually then are able to use a bamboo fork. We use all the cutlery. You're able to reuse that. So if you're out on a short day trip, you don't need to necessarily utilize plastic or anything that you're uncomfortable with. It also includes a bamboo toothbrush, and it's got because it's zero waste, it has soap that's been recycled, and just little things like that. You can get them in really small packs.
I've seen
or-
those. Yeah, they're
yeah,
great.
they're really great. They're really great.
Yeah, I have one of those as well. My little spoon, and I have the basic, the straw. They're wonderful. Things like that. Yeah.
Another pro tip, if you have a metal straw, make sure to clean that metal straw out very regularly. It is not like a plastic straw that, you can rinse off and it will clean itself. We actually have had people in Canada who've gotten quite sick from not cleaning out that metal straw.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
Really? Wow.
yeah. Another
Wow.
pro
And
tip.
I always encourage people to, not be buying water as we go along. Any hotel or anything I go to, I ask for filtered water, and most do offer them now, which is very safe drinking water. And to buy these, there's some of them are better than others. And I forget the brand I used to use, always have that water bottle, refillable water bottle. I think that's so important, because I think about people traveling and places like Southeast Asia, where I've just, been working for the last 8-9 years. People are always, it's hot. People don't want to drink the local water, which is fair enough. And they're just constantly buying plastic bottle after plastic bottle. So to find that best kind of, where it is easy to clean and, to store and to keep. I've even had people who've used that ones with filters their own water.
Right.
You put in tap water and it takes out the mercury and takes out all the other things. And I've tasted it, and the water actually did taste good. So I think it's just important to think about the environment. By being a vegan, we're already there. We're already, making such a huge difference. So these little tiny things, these, your bamboo cutlery and straw and things like that are I think, really changing the way we travel, hopefully leaving a much better footprint.
I did buy a collapsible water bottle, but that doesn't help with the filtering. So
No.
it would be great. if
Did it
they
work
had a
though?
filter.
Did it leak, Donna, or was it fine?
Did it leak? No.
Yeah. Oh, no, it didn't.
No.
Okay. I've not
But
used one of those
you
yet.
know, basically you can't take the water bottle filled with water through the airport. So you just,
course, yeah.
it collapses to like this high. And
Yeah.
then, you put it in your bag. And then when you get out of customs, you can, or, TSA, just pull it out and fill it up with,
Mhm.
the fountain water or whatever they've got. So,
One of the filters that I've used is called Life Straw. they actually have different formats. You can actually get one long tube that's a filtration system. It looks like a really, like kind of like a bubble tea straw would, much wider, but you can actually put that into any water and you can drink right from that if you need to. That's a little extreme, but they've also got bottle filters that you can put into your bottle as well to make sure that you've got filtered water. So if you don't even have access to,
And what's the name of that, Jason?
that's called Life Straw. Life Straw
Life
was,
Straw?
Life
yeah,
Straw. Okay,
Life
I'm gonna
Straw.
look that up.
Now I found them, as I say, through the sort of, you know, being prepared when you're going hiking, or if you're
Right.
going on a multi-day hiking trip, you might not have access to a ton of great water sources. So rather than carrying gallons and gallons with you, you can buy one of these straws. And I think it does, and this may be where my information is not 100%. I think it was about 900 liters that you could drink through that straw to be able to have it completely filtered, and it pulls out everything.
That's great.
Yeah. And I was going to say, Todd, on your point about, you know, trying to get out there and back into traveling, I think where a lot of people get stressed out is all of the little components that you have to put together for a trip. And that's where Donna and I keep reminding everybody, that's what Donna and I do. That's sort of the thing we really like to plan, are these plant-based experiences. The reality is a lot of our clients are not 100% plant-based, but may have someone in their family who is. And what Donna and I can do is try and piece together some of those plant-based experiences, whether you're planning a staycation locally or you're planning a big international trip. We do them all. I mean, I have some clients who are looking at new experiences that have popped up in Ontario. It's really, they're calling it Ontario glamping. But what they're doing is they're taking small group tours. The company owner, the company that we partnered with is called Lake Fever Wilderness, and they take you through Ontario provincial parks. But the best part is this tour operator is vegan himself. And he started his business as, we are going to run vegetarian options, but he's slowly making, like every one of us know, once you show people how great vegans can eat and how easy it is to be vegan, a lot more people open themselves up to the experience. And he's hopefully next year going to be 100% vegan, but he's offering a unique experience where you can go to a campground. You don't have to provide the tent. You don't have to provide the sleeping bag. He provides full service. He'll drive you there. He'll get you home. And not everybody has access to camping gear. So it's one of those things where I'm thinking outside of the box. What's going to give you that great experience? Going and, you know, standing at the museum with the huge lineups, that might be the best experience for you. But if somebody wants something unique, there's lots of different ways to travel now that we never really considered before.
I think that's fantastic. I think what you guys do, and I've seen some of the stuff, you know, I've been following, and Don and I have been in contact, is fantastic. It's kind of enabling and inspiring and kind of helping people get out there and feel, you know, because it is such a scary time as well with the COVID, and you know, trying to make the best of it. The idea of that staycation thing where the tent and everything's there, because that's so expensive, is a great idea. Because I think so many people who live, you know, in urban areas or towns and cities love the idea of camping, but then to buy a camper or a tent and sleep and all those things is just overwhelming. And I think it's great as well that you guys support and recognize or seek out and find these ethical kind of sustainable other partners or companies. As I always try to support local businesses, but especially if I can find a vegan or you know, ethically sustainable business, local, sustainable, vegan, I'm there to support them, you know, always on my travels when I've done that. As soon as I left that monastery in Vietnam 6 years ago, I've been seeking out vegans and trying to really celebrate them and support them. And I think it's great that you guys do that as well.
During lockdown, we found we were able to travel a little bit more than you guys, but so we found a vegan, actually I had known about it and been there once, but we found out that they were open. There was a vegan bed and breakfast in West Virginia, an hour and a half away. So we would just go there every few months just to get away. Nice. And it's dog friendly. you know, so it was
Wow.
perfect. It was perfect. So I have a question. It's not travel related, but I noticed it on here and I heard you speak about this. So you have some books in your reference, in your resources that you like or preferred. And one of them is the reason why I went vegan. And it was about a few years after it was written, was Animal Liberation. Are
Mm.
there, I mean, just, you know, suggestions to give to people as books for good reading
Yeah,
and
yeah,
to
that
educate
was a
themselves?
radical book, Peter Singer, isn't it? And another one that was really inspiring for me was Melanie Joy. I don't know if you know you like to do
Yes.
is that, you know, why do we what's it called? Why do we eat? Why do we love dogs, eat
Yeah.
pigs, and wear cows, or something like that?
Yeah.
And anyway, that book to me, I remember when I kind of came out, I always call it my coming out as vegan. I wanted to, you know, you do when you realize there's more there. You want to educate and learn more. That book was, wow, incredible for me. There was a new book. It's not really necessarily vegan, but it's a book about the future and the future of meat and the future. I think it's called, it's in here, I think it's called Sex, Robots, and Vegan Meat. And it
Yeah.
talks about the future of all our different things, like, you know, our lifestyles, our cities, our this, and one of them is our food and our diet. And it talks, and it's kind of controversial, but I thought it was really interesting because it interviewed all these startups about, you know, if you think about cell-based meat, cultural meat, um, um, and all of that, and a lot of those startups are done by vegans wanting to change the world.
Mhm.
They're not made just by they're getting the money, the funding from the tech industry, but these are, you know, dyed-in-the-wool ethical vegans who really want to change the world and stop all the animal industry from taking off. And that was a really interesting book. So if you're interested in that, that's a really good one.
You know, there's one I noticed that you don't have in here. I
What's
don't know if
that?
you've read it or not. Diet for a New America, John Robbins.
No, I haven't read that.
Do you know who John Robbins is?
I know the name, yeah. Okay, I'll write that down.
He was the sole heir to Baskin Robbins.
Oh, right, okay.
And I mean, again, I don't know what year, it's 1987. So I had been vegan for a few years. I mean, these are just some ideas to give to people so that they can, you know, for Christmas presents.
Absolutely, yeah. And I have, my book list, and some of them I'm just trying to look here now and think of myself. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, there's so many here. Yeah, Why We Love Dogs, Eat Pigs, and Wear Cows. I loved that book. That's kind of from her sociological background. And she talks about how we have this invisible belief system that she labels carnism. She's coined that phrase. Because if you think, there's no word for that, because then that's the most dangerous belief system that we all grew up in. It's this idea that eating meat is natural, normal, and necessary. She calls it the 3 N's. And she challenges all of those. She says it's just an invisible belief system that we've all bought into. We're all brainwashed, and it needs to be challenged. And that book, really, when I first came out of that monastery and got that book, I knew that, you know, there's no turning back. It was just life-changing, sort of maybe, you know, similar to your book, A Diet for a New America. It kind of made everything fit into place. It made sense to me. So that one was really important. Oh, Eating Animals by Jonathan Safran Foer. Did you guys know that book?
No.
That's a really great book as well. He works for the New York Times, an American writer. And I only bought that a little while ago. He's got a new book out as well, I believe. But yeah, Eating Animals. That was a pretty incredible book. So there's lots of great books out there. Yeah, I have my modern reads and my classic reads in my resource section of my books, just so people, while they're traveling, they can find stuff.
I think it's important to remember vegans are always trying to find more information. I think that's inherent in just our personalities, is we want to learn more. We want to understand more about the decisions that we're making. I think I haven't met a vegan that has stopped learning about veganism and trying to understand. Yep. And, you know, reading any type of, you get a vegan, a book for Christmas about veganism or about, you know, sustainability and environmentalism, it's going to be appreciated. It's going to be read. You just got to figure out if they want it in paperback or if they'd like it on their Kindle, but you can never go wrong that route. I
think you're absolutely right, Jason. I think as vegans, it's one of the things I loved about it, is that you have to kind of stop and rethink the world, you know, because you're taught and you're brought up, like I say, in this belief system or ideology that you have to then question. So as soon as you start breaking that down and saying, right, that doesn't make sense, or that's not right, then everything's up in the air and you've got to kind of rethink the whole world, don't you? So we're always kind of taking in information and making sense of it. And I think that's one of the great blessings of, you know, being vegan, seeing the world from that perspective.
Now, Donna, we're running out of time, but we're going to put up an image on the recording of the book so everybody can see the covers. But Donna, you were mentioning a giveaway.
Yes, if anyone is interested, London, here we go. Todd has generously given us a PDF of vegan travel recipes. And so if you're interested, please send me a private message on Facebook or send me an email, donna@greenearthtravel.com, and we'd be happy to give that out to you. I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
and I don't
happy to
even
share
cook.
that.
Again, something all vegans really like is making their own food and
That's right. I like
using
eating
great
everyone else's
recipes.
food.
So
I love making my own food even on the road. So I would often, like, if I was traveling on my own, I'd get an Airbnb with a little tiny kitchen. And I love going out to new places, and you learn so much about a culture. Go to their local grocery store or market and source out food and new exotic things maybe you've never seen, and taking them back and learning how to cook. So I developed these I think it's 16 recipes. And some of them are really basic, like little energy balls that you can make very simply, or a little trail mix, into more kind of wraps and little things you can get local ingredients and make it really simply in your room.
I was going to say,
yeah.
you can make it in the hotel room. Is that right? So it's not cooking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm happy to share those with everybody here, and it's just been such a joy being here with you guys.
that's great.
Thank you so much.
If anybody has any questions that's watching this presentation, you can feel free to interact with us on the Zoom. Send in those questions and we'll get Todd to reply to you in a timely fashion. And thank you, Todd. This was great.
Before you go, where can we find you on all the socials?
Right. Well, my on Instagram and Facebook, I'm Rebel Vegan Life. So if you look Rebel Vegan Life, you'll find me. And I have a couple postings a day, often a little reel of me exploring a new vegan eatery or discovering something new. And then also my website is Rebel Vegan Life. So that's kind of where, if you remember Rebel Vegan Life, you'll find me. And I look forward to engaging with people.
And one last thing, where can they get your books?
I think the easiest way is just go on to Amazon. I do have it on my website. You can go through that. But Amazon, if you put on Rebel Vegan or my name, Todd Sinclair, you go straight to me and you'll see my Rebel Vegan trilogy, I'm calling it now. That sounds very grand, doesn't it?
I like that.
It's the new Star Wars trilogy.
Yes, that's right. I'll have to work on it. I'm thinking
them.
of new books. So if anybody's got ideas, I'm thinking about vegan families and vegan. I'm trying to do less gluten. So I might do a vegan, gluten-free.
That's
vegan
actually
book.
huge.
Yeah, is it? Okay. Well,
just make sure to remind everybody, because I think a lot of people right now think that every vegan is gluten-free. So differentiating the fact that it's really, you don't have to be both. But there are quite a few vegans who I know who are gluten-free and are able to.
Or just even like vegan who wants to reduce. I find a lot of people are now more mindful and aware of that and of gluten and want to find ways of, finding other alternatives and ways of living with less gluten. So lots still there.
That's great. I'm hoping, Todd, you'll be able to come back and join us for our January summit. This has been fantastic. It was a wonderful chat. And thank you.
Thank you. I hope to be back in January and see you all then. So thank you guys.